Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's the noisy one over there, although I'll be noisier than her for this one. I hope you're all happy and healthy, guys, doing the things you love with those you love to do them with. Please do me a favour, smash the like button, smash the nanny out of the like button if you don't mind, if you enjoy the content. We love you very much over here for the support you show the channel. We're on the march to 36k. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment or two. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. We've got a few transfer news, views and clues. Before we get into it, and I'll put the chapters so that you can skip ahead of any of the parts of the show here now that you don't want to listen to. But in a nutshell, first and foremost, if you are interested in the audio version of this content or the podcast version, on Spotify you actually get to see the video version as well. And I'm actually going to be putting up these videos, different for live streams. Live streams are on YouTube first, but the uploads I'm going to upload first to Spotify and see if that makes any difference, just for like maybe 20-minute head start on there. So if you are on Spotify or Apple or Amazon or any of those things, then you'll get access to these videos like 20 minutes, half an hour before you'll see them on YouTube. So worth, if you're interested in the breaking news stuff, then worth following and dropping a 5-star rating if you don't mind, if you enjoy that stuff as well. Really appreciate you. Second of all, at 8 o'clock tonight is the debut show of the Spurs 5. Gee whiz, that story's caused a lot of controversy, hasn't it, eh? I've never seen so many people I'm not even that familiar with either reacting to it or reacting to the reactions of it. The news that 5 people in the Tottenham community are getting together to start a channel. I really don't understand it. I find it hilarious. On the one hand, like the hate that comes from certain areas. I mean, they're just bitter and twisted old men and jealous people that, throw around slanderous words about myself and my friends. And, I can't stand the fact that they think that their behaviour is okay, whilst at the same time telling you that our behaviour isn't, when, I don't know, what's the crime here? That we've decided to start a new channel. Or start a new conversation in a neutral channel. Just so we're unequivocally clear here, right? Just not that I want to give any attention to any of this stuff, because I'd like to give attention to the channel, but it seems like that's happening anyway. But here's the story, in case you were being misled by other people. About a year ago, I was going to buy Henry Wright's channel off him. It's a defunct channel. I was going to turn it into a total football thing. Do I talk about other things? In the end, I started doing that with Johnny anyway on Football Inc. and grew that from zero with him. I was doing very nicely. Go over there and subscribe to that. But the problem was that because I disappeared for 6-7 months, didn't I, with the shenanigans. And so in the intermittent period, when I first came back, then Johnny and I started the channel, and I resurrected the idea with Henry. And Henry, at one point, we were going to do something together. We started a thing called Shameless Football. That kind of petered out. These things happen. But I was always going to buy his channel because it's to me, it's a business opportunity and it makes sense, right? In one of my other businesses, part of that game is to buy websites, for example, that you can see value in repurposing for other reasons. And so it's not that dissimilar. Bugsy, shut up! Tell a story. Sorry. And so I said to Henry, if you're not doing anything with it, I'll take it off your hands. He was okay, but he's getting married, he was umming and ahhing and loads of different things. And then in the end, we kind of agreed a principal idea. Separately to that, obviously for the last 3 years, most of you guys know that Stella and I have had our issues in the past, and people were asking us to debate each other on the ownership and all that stuff. And then when we sort of thought about doing it, we couldn't really agree on where to do it, how to do it. Was there ever going to be a neutral venue where we could do it, where the kind of the sort of ends justified the means, and that there was equal contribution and there wasn't an uncomfortable environment for anybody to be amongst an audience that just had the knives out or whatever. And so we couldn't agree on anything, so we ended up sort of shelving the idea, right? And then more recently, the idea was floated to me by Johnny and Sava and Lubo. We should do a Spurs 5 or a Spurs 6, of which Henry was initially invited. Henry didn't want to be a part of it. He's busy and he's getting married and things, so he sort of politely declined. I was going to buy his channel anyway, And then I just floated the idea to the guys and said, okay, if we're going to do this in a neutral environment, which was the main purpose of starting this idea, is to do it on a new channel. But we initially said, should we do it on, like, should we just share it around on the channels that already exist? But that still presented an uneven sort of playing field for the members of the team that don't have channels. You know, Lubo wouldn't have been compensated or recognised in that regard, and it would have just been complex in terms of like distributing things, all this sort of stuff. So we said, let's just start a new channel. And then at the same time, I came to the finalising of the takeover of Henry Wright TV. And then I said to Henry, hey, do you mind if I use it for this reason instead? He said, no, not at all. And I floated the idea to the guys. The guys were on board it. And that's how it happened, right? At no point in any of the conversations around any of that did at any point the concept of burying other channels or monopolizing the content space or, you know, trying to control the environment. None of that stuff ever came up once, right? It's such a ludicrous concept. Why would it? Why would it? There's already 3 bigger channels, 4, 5, 6 bigger channels out there in the Tottenham space than any of ours. And we all just get on with it. Like, you respect the graft. There's channels out there that are full-time. There's other channels out there that are hobbyists. There's channels out there with more tenure behind them. Like, it is what it is. It's life. It's life. So you don't moan about it. You just go, okay, well, this is the situation I'm in. Let's, you know, make hay anyway. That's how everyone in every walk of life should operate. Recognise that there's just other people have different stories, different timelines, different horizons, different goals, different objectives, different restrictions, whatever. It is what it is. At no point did any of us ever once mention or speak of the benefit of trying to corner the market. It's such a ludicrous concept. The primary reason that I offered the channel to the boys that I was about to buy, or that I had already agreed to buy, was because it solved several things. One, it's an environment that's neutral, where everybody who's a participant can get equal recognition for their contribution. Two, it already has an audience of which probably 90%, if they're still around and alive, I don't know, but if they are, then that audience probably overlaps with all of our audiences anyway, but also has people on there that won't necessarily know about any of us yet, or maybe they will, maybe they won't, but that can also dislike us individually, but hopefully appreciate the contribution of the group together. So like, and it's a rolling start. And also because Henry Wright's channel used to have a Sunday show, the energy of which Saba and Stel and Will Stewart and myself occasionally and a bunch of other people were regular participants on, but that show used to have a very similar energy to the energy in which we think this channel is also going to have. And it was a successful show on that channel. So it just made sense. It's just business. But my word, that's it. That was it. Guys, got an opportunity. I think it makes sense. Here's why. Fancy it? Let's do it for these reasons. Okay, cool. Let's go and make it work. And that's all it was. At no point did any other conversation materialise regarding domination or cornering or anything else. It was just that. It's that simple, guys. Anyway, 8 o'clock tonight, debut show. 7 o'clock tonight, I'll be doing a live stream from the Spurs Talk Show. So please come and watch us there, here, on this channel. And then we'll all politely wander over to the debut together. Hopefully it'll be crackerjack. We'll see what happens. And then that's it. Yeah, that's it. But please do smash the subscribe. That the link is in the description. And I appreciate you now know the story, right? That's it. That's the truth. 100%. Now can we not fucking worry about this anymore? I can't actually believe what a crazy reaction there's been. Reactions to reactions, and it's a mad thing. It's a mad thing. It's just a channel, guys. Anyway, transfer news, views and clues, guys. How about this? So There's nothing new under the sun with Tottenham's transfer news, views and clues today. However, there is some stories out that Sonny has, or is in the process of, or his agents are in the process of having a discussion with LAFC again. This is a story that came out, I'd say 3 weeks ago, and then there was some like Eastern Asian newspaper or sports journal or Twitter or something that came out and said that no, he's already turned them down. And that to their credit, they actually put out the story about LAFC being interested in Sonny first. I think it was way back in February, and nobody mentioned LAFC back then. So they sort of retweeted that to show that they're ahead of the story, and maybe they are. And that was the kind of genesis of the idea that Sonny's not going anywhere. But the story today is that he's back. He's having conversations with the club. The club want to find out what he wants to do. Remember last week we heard that there was suggestions that actually Sonny was more than happy to leave the club at the end of the Europa League, although more recently he's more than happy to stay until at least January. I'll just maintain my energy here. I think that if we can finalise a situation where he goes on the tour to Korea next week and then plays the game, so by, what would that be, in about 8-9 days time, then that's done. We've ticked all those boxes. A lovely testimonial for him, if you like, in front of his adoring fans, but still wearing a Tottenham shirt. And then after that, for me, I think it makes the most sense. That's also probably why Tottenham are linked with so many left wingers at the moment, or versatile forwards, because for all intents and purposes, there isn't that much in the way of sort of strong links or noise, realistic links or noise, with regards to any of the other forwards going. Like, we haven't heard anything from Manuel Solomon's camp for the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, have we? It's been very much all about, that was about him going to Leeds, but Leeds seemingly are moving on. They've gone and got a few other people. Richalison, there's just that one sort of story where he basically doesn't want to go to Turkey, doesn't want to go to Saudi, and Brazil's the only kind of realistic other destination because no Premier League club seems to be sniffing around for him. Everton have already signed Tierno Barry, and so they're not going to have the kind of money for that. I think they're also looking at Kubo, aren't they, Everton? So that's going to be probably a little bit of change as well. And so I don't think that Everton are looking at Richarlison. I mean, there's logical sense for me in the idea of if Vissa leaves, maybe Brentford could come in and replace Vissa with Richarlison. Richarlison can be top boy in the Brentford attack. But does Richarlison want to go to a place where everyone seems to want to leave? Like, Vissa's unhappy there now. He's lost his playing partner, new coaching staff, a lot of change and a lot of risk of relegation, I think, for Brentford. So maybe Richarlison will think twice about that. If Mateta leaves Palace, could you see that replacement happening? There's a few sort of scenarios that might eventuate where Richarlison can still leave the club and play in the Premier League for a club where he can hopefully get fit, stay fit and do well and ensure that he's playing in the Champions League. I don't really see Tottenham being the sort of club that just sort of solve these issues of kind of stubbornness in the players that are deemed surplus to requirements by signing the players anyway and then making it clear that the players are now bottom of the pecking order. It's just not the way that we typically do it, is it? I mean, Chelsea don't seem to have any issues with just buying everyone they want and figuring it out later. But, you know, I do think that it's a fair point here that just Chelsea have got a negotiation style where I just don't think they nickel and dime. You know, they're not going to miss it for a biscuit. If it's a couple of million here, or if it's, you know, a couple of million less than they wanted there, or if it's all about if the kind of the time absorption opportunity cost that is sucked into spending days and days and days going back and forth over structural terms and payment terms. You don't really see that stuff with Chelsea, do you? It's like they bring in anyone they want and then they can usually get decent money for the players that they want out. They have got a very good track record of seemingly being able to get good money from their failed experiments. It's almost like their ability, the brand that they have created of being a revolving door, you know, like Johnny says, like the eBay of football, just like a marketplace of players, that those players that come in that don't do well, it's almost like that's part of the sales pitch. Yeah, take Raheem Sterling for 20 million quid. Take Nkunku for about as much as we paid for him, 70 million. Take, I don't know, Kai Havertz for as much as we paid. Take Noni Madueke for that ridiculous money, because the reason why they're not great players is not because they're not great players, it's because Chelsea is a situation where, we don't want them, but it's just because we want someone else. We're just kind of on this, the next shiny toy thing. And for some reason, it kind of, I think that element and the idea that Todd Boehly's just probably quite convivial in the art of the deal, it just doesn't make it difficult. He just shake hands and makes the next deal a little bit easier as well. Probably quite an enjoyable process for the other side. It probably just means that, you scratch a few backs and a few backs get scratched, if you know what I mean. And so, yeah, Chelsea can sort of do it, but I don't think that Tottenham will, with regards Richarlison. If he doesn't want to leave, I don't think we're going to bring in a Vissa or someone else. We might do, I might get muddied on that one, but I don't think we'll bring in a third striker until we know if we can find a buyer for the second. And if we're genuinely asking for like £50 million for a 28, 29-year-old in Richarlison from a place like Brazil, I don't think it will happen. I think it's madness. I don't think he's anything like that valuation of a player. He doesn't stay fit. He's never fit. And even when he is fit, he's very good in my opinion. I know I give him a hard time and that, but I just don't think he's a very good footballer. I think he's a terrible passer. I think he's a terrible controller of the ball. I think he's good in the air. But if the first adjective that comes to everybody's mind when you think about Richarlison is shithousery, isn't that just a nice way of saying that you're not a very good footballer? That you just cause a nuisance? And so I don't think that you can package him up as a £50 million player when you look at the likes of like João Pedro and see what he's capable of doing at the age he is and think that only costs 50 million. If it's true that Benjamin Sesko has had his price cut from 100 million euros to 70 million euros this morning at Leipzig because they're desperate to get some money in for him so they can rebuild in the other areas, you have to kind of use the comparables as your value pitch. And I don't really get why Richarlison would be any more than a 25, 30 million pound player at max. But let me know your thoughts on that one. Either way, he has to be willing to leave, and I don't think he is right now unless a really good opportunity comes along. Then you've got Bissouma, who's doing the same sort of thing in the midfield, and so consequently, part of the reason I think we're getting super frustrated as Tottenham fans that we went from nothing in the window to then suddenly everything all at once, but then one of them has fallen apart, which we're going to talk about in a second, and then nothing again. Part of it is because of the Morgan Gibbs-White drama and the hold-up. I think the other thing is that Tottenham are not a team that are going to bring in 30 players knowing they have to sell 5 because they think that having that kind of oversaturation of squad places gives away too much leverage in a negotiation. And consequently, they're probably only ever going to go one for one. One player has to leave, then one player can come in. Then one player has to leave, then one player can come in. And it's frustrating, but you have to kind of also just give some of that accountability to the stubbornness on the players. That if they don't want to leave and you can't force them out, then all you can do is make them feel uncomfortable in their position or their ability to get minutes. But if you're too nervous to go and bring the player in anyway, and you could only do that with one player, you wouldn't do it with 2, 3 or 4. So you still need a domino to fall before another one can stand. And so for me, it's it's a difficult, it's a catch-22, it's a chicken and the egg. Now with Bissouma, you only have £5 million, £4 million worth of wages to worry about. He's in his final year, he earns about 80 grand a week, which is about 4 million quid a year. So we've had more expensive situations that have been resolved in the past. I hope it doesn't come to it, but I would imagine that one of the reasons why we haven't progressed with the João Palhinha deal, or potentially the Douglas Luiz deal, is just because of squad space right now. Although it does make you sit there and wonder why it is that nobody else has also latched on to these opportunities, because those two opportunities for me are value for money. They tick a lot of boxes. As I said, I have said before though, the Douglas Luiz thing, has he fallen off a cliff to the level that people are suggesting he has? Or was it just a bad fit, a horses for courses thing in Italy? And maybe his relationship with his personal life with his wife, the footballer, isn't that on again, off again, on again? I don't know what's going on there, but people have suggested to me in private that that's part of the reason why he's not quite focused on football is because of his relationship issues or whatever. So maybe that's a pothole to avoid, I'm not sure. But with Palhinha, same question marks apply. I just think that he solves such an absolute hole in our squad that it makes absolutely entire sense to go and bring him in. If need be on a loan, so be it. We've got a good relationship with Bayern Munich. And that's kind of one of the things I was talking about Todd Bowley, that like the comparison here is Bowley doesn't have problems getting phone calls answered. Tottenham do. And by the way, on that point, Morgan Gibbs-White, well, the pause in his not going to Portugal or wherever it was, that's over. He's now on the plane. He's now joined up with Nottingham Forest. So for all intents and purposes, it looks to me, guys, like Morgan Gibbs-White is not going to be a Tottenham player, because like, what are we doing here? Okay, if his wife is now well enough for him to go to Forest's pre-season training camp, chances are he'll be playing on the weekend in 48 hours time. On top of that, you have the fact that he played last weekend after the fact we triggered the clause. Like, there has to be something going on here whereby Forest think that it's acceptable, and we are clearly thinking it's acceptable behaviour as well, where we've triggered a clause, but that we are not furious that the club are just ignoring our phone calls or our letters, and that they're asking him to play for them, risking injury, and at the same time hoping that Manchester City or somebody else, some bigger club, will come in and bid for him. And for what it's worth, knowing now what everyone knows, which is there is a clause there, it feels to me like it's just being stubborn and petulant, that they just don't want Tottenham to have the player. And do you know what? Like, I need Daniel Levy or Vinay or whoever it is to man up here and either say, no, he's our player, we've triggered the clause, we've done nothing wrong, your problem's with the agent, nothing to do with us. Can we get some actual policing of this situation, because it's outrageous? Or, if you don't feel that way, then move on. Move on. Apparently Manchester City have moved on. Apparently Manchester City are, like I saw yesterday, they're no longer interested in Gibbs-White. Well, will somebody else come in? Possibly, probably. I still think at £60 million, people are making out like it's such great value. I don't think it is. I think it's like appropriate value. Appropriate value for a team that really needs an 8 that drives into a 10. And I just think that, yeah, Tottenham, I think it would be a great value add once other priorities have been taken care of. But if we don't have any more room in the squad until Sonny leaves, if we don't have any more room in the squad until Richalison leaves, or Bissouma leaves, or Solomon leaves, of which there really isn't any kind of noise to be excited about, then clearly there is enough space in the squad for one more player, which was what Gibbs-White was going to be. So how about we just walk away from that one, go and drop that 60 million quid on, I don't know, a Benjamin Sesko? Or a left winger like, oh, I don't know, an Eberici Eze? What are we doing? What are we doing? Again, the logic here doesn't make sense. If we expect someone to pay £50 million for a Richarlison, who scores 1 goal every 4 games, and he's 28, if we expect someone else to see that value in him, then why can't we expect our team to see that value in Eze? He's a year younger. He scores probably, I don't know, but probably just as many goals, certainly more assists. He certainly fills a hole that we have that we need to fill. He certainly can do a little bit of everything. He would certainly be terrifying off the left like Kudus would be off the right. And I think that you could even ask Eze, for what it's worth, to play in the 8 if you absolutely needed to, because he's that cultured of a player and he's that clever and he has that fight and that feistiness. He just also has, you know, a better end product. Less kind of showboating, more like speedboating all the way into the back of the net. So for me, it's just like, I understand the logic of the kind of 1 in 1 out thing. It's frustrating, and so it's not all of my anger or my sort of like is aimed just at the ownership here. But I think that there are, you know, there's like 2 sides to every story. You have to throw a little bit of the frustration towards the players that are just digging their heels in, although they have every right to do what they want. They've signed the contract and that's their protection. But park all that stuff. There is still an opportunity cost that we're letting very much take a grip of our summer transfer window. And on top of that, even the opportunity cost that we're waiting around for a player that I don't think really is as valuable to us as like the idea initially sounded. You know, when you've it's like buyer's remorse. Well, we haven't bought him yet. So it's like considerations remorse. Let's park that one Go and speak to Crystal Palace and get Eze done. It's not that much more expensive. We know the terms there are pretty amenable. And then after that, you can figure it out with, and then obviously that puts pressure on Sonny to hopefully get the LAFC thing. And then at the top end of the pitch, if you can get rid of Richalison, or even if you don't go and get an Eze, you've got options. You've got that Evan Guessand, right, who's another story that's out yesterday and out this morning again. Cracking player from Nice. Really, really, really good player. Can smash the ball from distance with his left or his right. He's a troublemaker. He's big, he's strong, he's 6'1", he's tough in the air. He's fast, he's versatile, he can drop a shoulder. He can connect the dots as well, and he can play in about 3 different positions. Kalimuendo, smaller guy, more kind of sort of zippy, nippy, and a bit of a kind of not a poacher, sorry, wrong word, like a Jermaine Defoe type of player. Love him, really interesting player, would love to see it. Mikautadze, why are we sleeping on him? Why are we sleeping on him? Half the price of Morgan Gibbs-White, and I think a better player. I genuinely think he's a better player. He probably can't do the 8 role, but he can certainly play across the front 3 and get back. He's feisty, he's tricky, he's lovely gem. He's scary as well with his footwork. And then of course, you know, you've got João Paulinho and Douglas Luiz and yada yada yada. The thing, I'll finish there, guys. I've been going for 27 minutes, but the other story is that Atletico Madrid last night signed David Hansko, the player that I've been talking to you guys about for a long time from Feyenoord. I thought that deal was done for him to go to Al Nassr, but it fell apart. He's now gone to Atletico Madrid. Now he's a left-sided, left-footed centre-back that also plays as a left-back. So if we were looking for that kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone sort of signing, he would have been one of the few that we could have gone for. Hincapie's still there, but he'll be very expensive. And I don't know, I'm really disappointed because I would have loved Hansko and I think he would have fit our system really nicely. However, what I would say is the other factor is there an overlap there? The fact that Atletico Madrid have signed Clement Longley now and also Hansko, are they still going to be looking for Romero? Or does that kind of Romero's on the right, Hansko's on the left, so it's not a direct, obviously, replacement, but it does make you question whether or not there is, that's the kind of the nail in that coffin. And then the only other kind of contemplation here is whether Real Madrid are going to go after a Zabani, whether they're going to go after a Konate, whether they might actually come up and go in for a Romero. We shall see. But Evan Guessand, guys, interesting story. Love to see it. Kalimuendo, love to see it. Mikautadze, would love to see it. What I'm hating to see is the cop blocking that's going on in our squad, and it is what it is. And the fact that we're allowing opportunity cost to really sort of spoil the summer transfer window. I'll leave it there, guys. I'll see you at 7 o'clock on the Spurs Talk Show and then 8 o'clock for the big debut. Thanks for listening to me, and I hope the story wasn't too boring, but just wanted to put it out there to kind of like suffocate any of the bollocks that's being sent around by people that are just really, really sort of resentful and jealous human beings. Love you all, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.